And we should always seek to ask from Him and to have everything that we need, so that people will see our lives and say to themselves, what a master that person has. What a kind and generous King. So that's one side of the coin. Here's the next side of the coin. He says, God be gracious to us and bless us. Verse 2, that your way may be known on the earth, your salvation among all nations. Let the people praise you, O God. Let all the peoples praise you. Let the nations be glad and sing for joy. Now, up until now, the praying may sound somewhat selfish. Lord, bless me. Provide for my needs. Take care of me so that people will know I have a kind master. But you need to understand something. The prosperity that the Lord gives us is for a greater purpose. It's that all may know Him. He will be like a tree planted by rivers of water that yields its fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither. In all that He does, He prospers. Charismatic preachers use that a lot. There's only one thing they have failed to recognize. Trees don't eat their own fruit. The fruit that falls from a tree is for the hand, the mouth, and the stomach of another. We are to believe God and call forth, Lord, bless me, that I may bless, that I may have to give, that I may be a channel of blessing to others. I want you to think about something for just a minute in the time that we have. I want you to think simply of all the things laying around your house, all the toys never played with, all the clothing never worn, all the things that were purchased with great joy, and yet soon as you obtained them, you had no use for them. I want you to think about all the waste. Do you realize that if the American Christians simply eliminated their waste without sacrificing anything, how much they could bless the world and spread the gospel? I'm not speaking about living like some monk who deprives himself of everything. I'm speaking about a person who simply walks circumspectly, who walks with wisdom, who considers what the Lord has done for him and uses everything given wisely. Wisely. I've lived on both sides of this. As a missionary, as a young single missionary, I had 2 pairs of blue jeans. They had more holes than jeans. I remember I married a couple there in Lima one time, and I actually had to wear a priest robe with some dress pants that were actually tied right here because the guy was so short that came out at the end of the robe, so people actually thought I was dressed properly. And I thought it was wrong to have any sort of blessing, any sort of normal life. But in that I was wrong. But I don't think that's most American Christians' problem, is it? With what we throw away, with what we never use, we could send the gospel around the globe. You say, well, Brother Paul, that might have been true a few years ago. But Detroit's suffering. Did you ever think that it may be God's discipline to wean you away from materialism? Did you ever think it was because that which was given to you was not used properly? You say, well, what about everybody else? We shouldn't be concerned with everybody else, just us. I'll tell you something, America. You chose to serve the gods of gold and silver when the one true and living God was proclaimed to you day in and day out, God just might turn this nation over to false gods who are cruel masters, and you'll see what it's like to serve them. Be very careful. But at this moment, there's still grace. At this moment, we can still use what we have. You should literally go in and write out a list of the things that you can rid yourself of that you never even use. Get rid of it and use it for missions. Then look at the way you waste your time, the way you waste your money, the way you waste so many opportunities. Rid yourself of them. Your prayer, yes indeed, should be, God be gracious to us and bless us. Why? So that we can bless others. One of the most terrifying things that I think about on the day of judgment is all that I could have done. And then to stand beside men and women that I know who have done so much more with the little they have had. I'll give you an example. Angel Colmenares. He's a little Peruvian man about this tall. Bald-headed, glasses, chubby little sort of fellow. Diabetes seems to be taking his life. I remember one time going up to go preach in a conference with him, and I brought a movie maker, a filmmaker with me, who was on his way actually to Brazil to be in the largest missionary conference ever organized in South America. And I said, before you go there, come with me to the northern mountains of Peru. I want to show you something. We arrived there, we're picked up. Angel says, Brother Paul, we're getting ready to head up in the mountains to preach, but before we do, I need to pick up a battery. And so we go to the dump, and he's looking around, seeing if he can find a discarded battery that could be recharged for his microphone. Now, the filmmaker was I could see he was kind of put out. Here he was supposed to go to this big conference, and now he's walking around a dump with this little man looking for a battery he can use for his speakerphone, for his microphone. And I looked at him and I said, brother, this little man is the father of 500 churches in northern Peru. God has used this little man to plant over 500 churches in northern Peru. Nothing. I think if we planted a church, we'd probably put it all over the internet, wouldn't we? We planted a church. There's a little man who can't even afford a battery. 500 of them. Oh, my dear friend, to whom much is given, much is required. To whom much is given, much is required. He's talking to you. Do you see that? Cry out for blessing, but then use the blessing. Take an archive of the blessings you have. If you are young, He has given that to you. Use your youth while you can. For days are coming when just to get out of bed will be difficult. If He has given you a mind, use that mind for Him. If He has given you material prosperity, use it for Him. And by the way, there is an old proverb that's true. You can't outgive God. If you have beauty, use it for Him. Look at what is in your hand. Look at what He has given you and use it for Him. So what is the reason for prosperity? that we might join in that great army of men and women who have laid down their life for the cause of the gospel, that we might go with them, that we might support them, that we might help them. That is the only reason you're sitting here right now with more wealth than 95% of the world. You say, Brother Paul, you don't know me. If you're living here right now, I can tell you, you have more wealth than 95% of the world. Why? Because we sing, My Country 'Tis of Thee? No. He raises up men and women and countries and prospers them for only one reason, that they might proclaim the gospel.